He likes to dance.
Thanks, Leander. When we return, the best divers in the world on the men's 3-meter springboard, and China's Tan Leong-da challenged by 2 Americans. All of that is just 8 minutes away. So don't go away. Don't touch the ticker. I love that. That's called a rotoscope. I have no idea how it works, but they know inside the truck. It's special to me. Welcome back. I'm Larry King with Nick Charles and Hannah Storm. Next, Hannah, it's been a long time since we heard anything about an American male diver other than Greg Louganis.
Oh, sure. Going all the way back to when he won the silver in '76, he had American diving on top for over 10 years. But since his retirement, guys like Zhang Ni and Tan Leong-da, who you'll see tonight, have the Chinese on top. Still, there are Americans waiting in the wings and ready to emerge from Louganis' shadow. Among them, a guy named Kent Ferguson. He's been around for quite a while, even though you may not have heard too much about him. He was a silver medalist on the 3-meter springboard at the first Goodwill Games 4 years ago, although he barely missed making the U.S. Olympic team by the smallest of margins in 1984, and then again he missed in 1988 when he dislocated his shoulder during the Olympic trials. Amazingly enough, he still kept on diving, only missed the team by 2 points. He's a very graceful diver, just like Louganis, and away from the sport, Kent pays the bills by modeling. A victory for him tonight would certainly be a breakthrough. Let's spend a moment with Kent Ferguson as he tells us about his journey to his second Goodwill Games.
My journey to the Goodwill Games involves a lot more than just diving off a diving board. Modeling has helped my diving in that it has helped me become more secure in front of people. I think diving gives me an edge a little bit in the modeling when it comes to getting into competitive situations with different castings and whatnot. My diving's going better than it ever has because I've got a new attitude and I've got different things in my life to keep me occupied, to keep me busy. One of the accomplishments that I've never quite attained is getting into a world competition and hearing the American national anthem play behind me as I stand on the award stand. That would be an incredible experience for me.
These are great, these journeys. By the way, later tonight, we're going to have semifinal boxing, and you may see someone fight tonight. You will see someone fight who many think could be the best heavyweight in the world. That includes the pros. He's a gentleman from Cuba, so don't touch the clicker. We've got great action all right, like right now. To the Weyerhaeuser Aquatic Center, John Neighbor and Steve McFarland. Guys.
Welcome back to the Weyerhaeuser King County Aquatic Center. We're getting ready for what could easily be called the most aesthetically pleasing event in diving. It's the men's 3-meter springboard competition. Hi, everybody. I'm John Neighbor, along with Steve McFarland. And, Steve, it's perhaps fair to say that on the international rankings, we've got the top 12 divers in the world competing here.
We do, and they're all going after the #1 ranked diver, Tan Leong-da. He's the FINA Cup champion. You may remember in the Olympics, he was second to Louganis in this event. But we also have a great American diver, Kent Ferguson. He's the most stylistic diver we have in this country, in my opinion. He's done very well internationally. He's been second to Tan. He'd like nothing better than to win here at the Goodwill Games. But we also have a real comer, as you like to say. We have Mark Bradshaw. He's the national champion. He's been diving so well. He's beaten Kent Ferguson, and we're going to keep an eye on him here. He's in for a real test. If he can do well here, he'll really give himself a boost internationally.
Now let's take a look at the two contrasting styles in diving. The men's form by Kent Ferguson here in the first round doing his first round back dive as compared to the Chinese form.
I like to talk about style quite a bit in diving, and Kent represents the American style. Graceful, smooth body lines. You see him touch his toes and gracefully line up for a straight body entry. The Chinese style of diving is more acrobatic. You see tighter pike positions normally, and you see a little more of a jerky motion, but it's something that really, it's a judgment call on what the judges like to see. You'll notice he gets out of the pike quickly and shows a straight body for a longer drop to the water. It really is a judgment on which style you prefer.
Now, there are 11 rounds of diving in men's 3-meter springboard. We've completed 5 rounds. Let's take a look at our standings. The Americans, Bradshaw and Ferguson, are in the 1st and 3rd positions. Tan Liang-de from China, undefeated in international competition since the retirement of Greg Louganis, is currently in 2nd. Let's take a look at America's Mark Bradshaw, the oldest diver in the competition, his 6th round dive. It's going to be an inward 2.5 somersault in pike position, 3.0 degree of difficulty.
And this is interesting strategy that Mark uses here. He elects to start his optional round with an inward takeoff. And I like that strategy. I think it's good for him to get off to a good start. If he gets 8s or better, he's on a roll. He's not going to see 8s or better on that dive, John. And the reason was the takeoff. And you may notice that as he leaves the board, his hips go back. Watch his hips. See how they push away from the board? And the distance was just too far away to allow that dive to go up and consequently straight in.
Mark Bradshaw's scores on your screen, 7s and 6.5s. Mark was in 3rd coming into this round. Let's see how he stands at the end of this round as the diving continues. It's going to be Jose Luis Rocha from Mexico. He trains out of Florida. He married America's top diver at the 1988 Olympics, silver medalist Michelle Mitchell, just recently. He'll be doing a forward 3.5 somersault.
And let's see if he took any cues from Michelle, who could do this dive on 10-meter very well. Forward 3.5 somersault in the pike position.
I think they sit around talking diving around the living room. That board was very silent.
Yeah, well, you know what that indicates? That indicates that he was in time with the board. That meant that his feet were right on the end of the board at the right time, and he rode the board, as they like to say in diving, and there's the result. You go up a mile. However, he came out too early and left the dive short of vertical.
Scores 5.5s, 5 is the low, 6.5 is the high. They'll be tossed out. The middle 5 will be averaged and multiplied by the degree of difficulty. Next up on 3-meter springboard, Valery Stitsenko from the Soviet Union, a very friendly and outgoing competitor. At 21 years of age, he'll be doing the exact same dive.
You know, we talked about strategy in terms of what Bradshaw selected. Valery selects the forward 3.5 somersault pike, and so he wants to see 7.5 or 8s or better on this. He had a solid finish, John. The distance, and I've noticed in the earlier rounds that his distance from the board is really far out. He's moving away. Instead of going up and keeping the dive close, you see his lean forward. The dive is just way too far out to get the type of scores you want, and it's important to have high scores in that first round of optionals. And there you see an example of how far out he really was.
So a lot harder to get in vertically if you're a long ways away from the board. 6.5s and 7s from the judges, 63 points. Let's go to our leader, Ken Ferguson, at 27 years of age. 6 feet tall, makes him the tallest diver in the competition. A back 2.5 somersault pike position.
And like Bradshaw, he elects to do his first optional with a back takeoff. I think psychologically that's a good move because front takeoffs are more risky. You saw a few minutes ago Valery leaning on his front takeoff. Nicely done. Back 2.5 somersault pike. That had the entry of an 8 dive, but the distance was a little too far away from the board, I think, to get straight 8s across the board. We may see 7.5s, 2 8s from the judges. It will be very interesting to see what happens.
Well, all he needs are 6.5s to take the lead. He's got 7.5s across the board. They call that bingo. 7.5 bingo for Ken Ferguson. 67 points on the dive for him. He leaps into the lead. Holds on to the lead, I should say, and he seems happy with that score. Now the final diver in the rotation, Tan Liang-de, runner-up to Greg Louganis at the last 2 Olympic Games, a back 2.5 somersault pike position.
And we'll expect to see a fast spinning dive here. Let's see if we can judge just how high he finishes and he gets his body straight. That's what to look for when he gets out of the pike. Let's see where he is in relation to the board. Right at board level, and that was very well done. However, he didn't have as clean a finish as Kent had, but his distance was excellent. Watch how straight his body gets right there. That is the straight body line that the Chinese really like to demonstrate, and you'll see from the overhead how quickly he gets into his pike. He just seems to spin in one spot. What a dive.
He needs better than 8s to take the lead over from Ken Ferguson. Let's take a look what we have. 8s across the board, an 8.5 and a 7.5. 71 points on the dive. So it looks like Ken Ferguson retains the lead by a bare margin. Ton Leongda is in second place. Mark Bradshaw's in third. And we'll be back with more diving from the Goodwill Games when we return.
These guys are amazing. I know back at Brighton Baths in Brooklyn, it was just easier for us to just sort of walk into the pool. Much more still to come. More diving, men's volleyball, and boxing. The punishing Felix Savon in his heavyweight semifinal bout. Just 14 minutes away. Don't go away. This shot from the Goodyear Blimp Columbia up here in Seattle from Los Angeles, piloted by Tom Mattis. Dramatic view of Seattle up in your sort of upper right-hand corner. That is the Kingdome, where the Seattle Mariners and the Seahawks play. This, of course, is downtown Seattle. You see the two lakes, the whole beautiful picturesque area, the university on the bottom. Not bad. From boxing to diving, the men's 3-meter springboard. We've been away a while. John Neighbor, Steve McFarland, they've got the coverage at the Weyerhaeuser Aquatic Center. What's going on, guys?
Welcome back to the Weyerhaeuser King County Aquatic Center. We have 2 rounds of dives remaining in men's 3-meter springboard. The action here, Tan Leongda from China is leading the 2 Americans in the medal rankings right now. And Steve McFarland, perhaps you could take a few seconds to discuss or describe the 2 dives that they did. Ken Ferguson in the 8th round and the same dive for Leongda in the 9th.
This is the forward 3 1/2 somersault pike. This represents the graceful style that the Americans like to use. High tops, tight pikes, straight entries. Now we'll contrast this with the Chinese style here done by Tan Leongda, the same dive. Notice how fast and acrobatic this dive is. Right into the pike. Now watch what he does on the entry. He comes out above the 3-meter and just coasts to the entry.
The Chinese, of course, using the acrobatic skills as their efforts in gymnastics were successful. That gymnastic style comes across very well in diving for them. So now as we rejoin our action, currently in 3rd place is Mark Bradshaw, the American, who's been in 3rd for the last 5 rounds. He had a disappointing dive last round, but he's still in the medal hunt. Forward 2.5 somersault with 2 twists.
I've seen Mark do this dive very well. This is a high degree of difficulty dive at 3.2. And Mark has been focused very well until that dive prior to this that we saw him miss. Now he's going to do his double twisting 2.5. Look at those eyes. He wants this dive. He wants this dive because he knew that he was right in the hunt and he wants to get back into it. 8s or better, it's going to have to be. What a nice dive Mark Bradshaw did for us. Watch how high the dive is. Watch how high he finishes above the board. And look at that entry, just slightly bent at the waist, but I tell you, I would give it 8s if I were on the judging panel.
Well, Ken Ferguson, 7.5. There are a couple of 8s in there, 73.9 points. Now, something happened earlier. You just got to see this. Wang E.J. did the most difficult dive on the program and got the best scores we've seen so far.
This is a treat, ladies and gentlemen. This is a treat. Watch this. I've never seen anybody on springboard do this dive any better than this.
Ref, right in there. In fact, you were applauding from up here at the desk when that occurred.
I mean, that just raises the hair on your neck to watch that. That is so difficult. He should take a bow. That was a remarkable dive. He gets on the end of the board. Look how straight his body is on the entry. And, of course, he just disappears. What a dive.
And he got 8s and a couple of 9s from the judges and a wondrous applause from the crowd. A thrilling moment for the 21-year-old out of Shanghai. And so that was a thrilling moment. He's not in the hunt for medals, but boy, what a performance that was. Let's rejoin our action. Valery Stitsenko from the Soviet Union. He's currently in 6th place. He's doing a back 1.5 somersault with 3.5 twists, 3.2.
And John, he's the only diver to do this back 3.5 twister in competition. This is a 3.2 degree of difficulty. It's the highest back twisting degree of difficulty. And the secret to this is, we had spoken about this the other night. The difficulty in doing back twisters is initiating the somersault and also initiating the twist. You actually have to do 2 things at once. He must initiate the somersault to the point where he can wrap the twist right away. If he over-rotates the somersault, the dive will go beyond vertical. So the key is the takeoff.
So we'll be watching Valery Stitsenko. He's one of the older